This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
What's going on, Washington Commanders Nation? It's your boy Rio Robinson, back with the latest and greatest on the Ramblin' with Rio YouTube channel, where we ramble about the Washington Commanders. Double upload day. Washington released the depth chart this morning, the first unofficial depth chart, which included 13 new starters, 3 rookies, and our rookie quarterback taking over as QB1 for the team. But there was still practice and things happening in Ashburn today. We are no longer in the Brandon Ayuk conversation as that saga is drawing to a conclusion. It's down to 3 teams that don't include Washington: Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and the Patriots, from what we hear. But there's a lot of media flip-floppery happening, and a lot of media versus Twitter verified user unnamed. So we're not in that conversation anymore. So we can dead the Ayuk thing. Also, a Washington player from the Rivera era was let go today, and another player from the Rivera era has retired from football today. Another one bites the dust, but practice did happen today. It was a light one in Ashburn. I believe they only went for about 95 minutes today, an hour and a half. And as the trend continues, since camp started, I don't know if the Wi-Fi don't work in Ashburn. I don't know if guys aren't posting at all. We're not getting much of any information at all. So I'm going to be looking at Zach Selby's training camp mailbag from the Commanders website. Also, my boy Mason Kinahan of the Keeping Up with the Commanders podcast. He's been the MVP of training camp so far because he's the only one giving consistent and detailed in-depth analysis of what he's seeing from practice so far. 3/5 of the offensive line was out of practice today. Starting left tackle, rookie Brandon Coleman, Sam Cosmi, and Andrew Wiley, who has a mysterious injury labeled tightness. We need to get to the bottom of what tightness is, but it doesn't feel like this crew is going to explain to us exactly what that is. Maybe they're saving the guys and putting the offensive line on ice because we have a joint practice session coming up Thursday with the Jets and a preseason game on Saturday. Since it is confirmed that not only is Jaden Daniels playing Saturday, he's starting Saturday, I don't think they want to put a scab offensive line out there on the field when we debut our rookie quarterback and have that man running for his life like RG3 versus the Lions circa 2014. Don't want to do that. Y'all remember that shit. We don't want to do that. But light practice, Jaden Daniels had a solid-ish day. Wasn't his sharpest, wasn't a bad practice. I have not seen someone come on record and say this guy's had a bad practice yet. And for that, that's worth a round of applause because we've seen a lot of those come in and out of here through the last 25 years. I have quarterback PTSD. I've seen more quarterbacks come and go than I've watched football games, but solid day for the quarterback. Great day for the defense with 3/5 of the starting offensive line out. The defensive line was in Jaden Daniels' back pocket the entire day. He still went 7 for 10 and team drills, a couple incompletions and errant passes that were on the quarterback, according to my guy Mason, but just a normal day of practice. Joe Jackson Gibbs, the legend, the GOAT, the 3-time champion Super Bowl head coach of the Washington Commanders, he touched down the Commanders camp today. Darrell Green was there today, so we have legends in the building, champions, guys that inspire and show these young fellas what it's like and show them the pinnacle that they're trying to get to. I like when Washington brings actual legends around because I'm going to go off on a tangent for a second. The Washington Redskins football team Commanders, they are famous for deeming and tagging anybody who's considered alumni as a legend. Everyone's a legend. Come meet and greet with Washington legends in the mezzanine at FedEx Field, now called Commanders Field. We got Josh Morgan walking around FedEx, kissing babies and shaking hands like he's running for election. No disrespect to Josh Morgan, but he's the perfect example of when I say everybody can't be a legend. Josh Morgan produced for this team maybe one game more of production than I've produced for this team. And I ain't produced shit for this team, so that should tell you a whole lot. But I know some guys are from here. I know some guys have ties to the organization. I know some guys are going to come back and work for the media circuit for the team. But can we not please throw the tag legends on everybody? Perfect example of this. One of Ron's favorites, one of Ron's draft picks, one of his many failures here in DC, retired from football today. Sadiq Charles, the guy who I used to say had silly putty calves. Calves. Always some type of lower body or extremity injury from that guy. He had tree trunk legs, and they're made of silly putty because they were never able to hold his body up and keep him on the field for a consistent amount of time. He moved on to be a Tennessee Titan this year, and it was trending all the way up until this point of training camp that he was going to be the starting guard for them. I believe the starting right guard for the Tennessee Titans, who had a very active offseason. He retired from football today. Another Rivera era pick bites the dust. And another Ron Rivera guy, an undrafted free agent, was released today. Tight end and fan favorite for a lot of people, Armani Rogers, was released today. Coming off of an Achilles rupture last year, I never thought that that was going to be a thing. I never really counted him in the mix in the top 3 tight end situation here. A lot of fans saw him catch a couple screen passes back with Carson Wentz in week 1 of 2022 and believed that this might be a thing. Undrafted guys are like undrafted guys. It's very rare. It's a lottery ticket. I wish him the best on his endeavors elsewhere. I think he might go crazy in the UFL. Not trying to be disrespectful, man. I'm just keeping it a buck, bro. Undrafted guys who rupture Achilles, that's not a very promising future usually connected to that. We brought in a camp body guard / center combo, J.C. Hassenauer. Never heard of him. But based on the resume that I'm looking at right now, he spent most of his career on the waiver wire or on injury reserve. Can't body. You heard that Cosme's banged up. Nick Allegretti is coming off an elbow injury, even though he's been practicing the majority of camp. Guys have camp veteran fatigue. We give guys veteran days off, and it's preseason. We need to field a big-ass roster of guys. He's here for that. Don't expect J.C. Hassenauer to be on the final roster. We waived offensive tackle Alex Akingabaloo with an injury designation. I believe he was carted off of practice 2 days ago. But 10 days into camp, the defense looks good. The offense looks good. But one thing I will note, Washington has seemed to be at a very lax pace of practice so far. I know we haven't seen much, but from what everybody, media, fans, and all the clips we see, it doesn't seem like there's been a lot of 100% full speed live drills with pad studding so far. And I think a bit of that is by design, because with the new NFL CBA, they don't really want teams hitting like that in practice, even though I am seeing clips coming out from a lot of different camps, a lot of undisciplined guys studying and cracking, headhunting their own teammates. There's been none of that out of Washington. And it really feels like we've been at a step past walk-through speed for a majority of camp. That's going to come to an end Thursday when we go up to New Jersey, because best believe competitiveness, competition will be at an all-time high, and testosterone will be running. You get to finally let the pads loose on a player that you do not have to share a locker room with. So I want these dudes cracking domes when we go up for these joint practices. Yes, there's a preseason game, and I know the preseason game is longer than a joint practice, but joint practice, you're going to see things that you will not see in the preseason game. You're going to see actual things we're going to be running in the regular season. It's where you start getting your shit off, starting to open the playbooks up a little bit and start trying out things to get ready for week 1 and beyond. It's the closest thing to regular season football that we're going to see, because we know these preseason games, it's all Manila. There's no game planning whatsoever, and we barely see the starters. Well, our starters versus their starters are going to see a lot of one-on-ones and team reps on Thursday. So be on the lookout. I need to find exactly which New York Jets media pundits I need to follow so I can get both sides of the coin of coverage once joint practices are underway, because I don't just want it from the home guys. I do want it. I want to see what all our guys are talking about. But I also want to see it from the Jets' perspective. I want to see how they view this team. I want to see what the optics and the lens of Washington looks like from another team now that we are completely brand new. We are the definition, the epitome, the embodiment of a New Year's resolution. New year, new me, new coaching staff, new front office, still a new ownership group, a new quarterback, 13 new starters, 23 new players on the roster. So when someone tells you same old Washington, or when they see us on the schedule, it's just the Commanders. Y'all don't know what we look like. We don't know what we look like. Nobody has a fucking clue what the 2024 and beyond Washington Commanders look like because you've seen nothing. You've not seen our new scheme. You've not seen our new players. You've not seen any of the new vibrations that are now trickled down in Ashburn. So, new year, new us. We get our first taste of Washington versus another team. But let's get into what Zach Selby had to say about practice today, because if not, I'm going to keep yapping about all types of things that was not today's practice. The Commanders' first official depth chart was released this morning. We already know that. There was 12 players stated for each side of the ball. That's something I didn't pay attention to on first grasp. They listed an extra running back and an extra outside linebacker because remember what Joe Witt told us, y'all. He told us we got at least 18 guys on this team that he'd consider a starter. While we know that's a little bit of conjecture, hey, I like the cut of his jib, man. Joe Witt is a real one, man. He was speaking on the podium after practice today. He said, words are words. And if we don't go out there and do it, it's been a bunch of bullshit. He's not putting up with any excuses. Accountability, accountability, accountability. Doesn't sound like the last guys, but let's move on. Olamide Zaccheaus, who is now starting in the slot on the first unofficial depth chart, has established himself as one of the key pieces on the receiving core. Selby said he looked impressive since camp begun. He was Jaden's first target on 11-on-11s today, resulting in a nice gain near the middle of the field. Later in practice, he sprinted for the end zone after a long play was over to show some extra effort. Middle of the field. Remember one of the key weaknesses we were told by draft pundits during draft season? It's not that they didn't think Jaden could throw over the middle of the field. It's that the offense that he played with in LSU didn't require him to do such. It was a lot of vertical and horizontal. It was not required for him to throw a bunch of in-breaking routes. Logan Paulson on the Take Command, I believe it was Take Command or John Keim show a couple of days ago. I'll try to find that clip for y'all. He was like, the thing that has impressed him most about Jaden is how accurate he is throwing the ball over the middle. Because he said to throw the ball over the middle in the NFL means to fluently understand defense. You see exactly what the defense is in, because to put it in the windows, the tight windows that it takes to throw it across the middle of the field, you're processing. Your recognition ability has to be special. He said that has been what has impressed him most about Jaden so far. So when I hear Selby say he hit Olamide Zaccheaus across the middle of the field, I take a note of it every time I hear it, because they told us coming out of LSU that they didn't know if he could throw the ball across the middle on a consistent basis. Selby said, speaking of nice catches, Brian Robinson provided another example of how he can thrive as a pass catcher by making a one-handed catch from Jaden before turning up the field. Ever since last year, even in EB's sorry-ass offense, Brian Robinson proved he's an every down back, and he can catch it as good as he can chuck it and run someone over. Love to see that. Love to hear he's going to be getting the ball thrown. I imagine everybody's going to get hella receiving targets in Cliff Kingsbury's offense. Call it what you want. Tell me it's not an air raid. We're going to be airing that shit out. I think there's going to be an semblance of balance there, but we're airing the ball out. Let's call a spade a spade. That's what the NFL is these days. We didn't draft Jaden Daniels just to run it all the time, even though I've heard Logan Paulson also say there's been a lot of quarterback design runs, some inside and some outside, that they've been running at practice. Not trying to be the feds, just letting y'all know what I'm hearing based on what I'm listening to. Jaden Daniels is going to run the football. I know he's slight in frame, but he's put on enough muscle that he looks like an NFL quarterback. That is no longer a concern to me. A name that we've been hearing every day since training camp has begun. The one thing Washington has been missing in the wide receiver group is a wide receiver with size. It's a bunch of munchkins out there. It's almost like we're not allowed to have a wide receiver over 6 foot flat. Bryson Tremaine, former Stanford receiver, 6'4", 212 pounds. His name has come up once or twice in team drills or 101s or both every day since camp has begun. He is someone I have circled and I'll be paying close attention to in the wide receiver conversation come training camp. If he could take some of that momentum from training camp to the preseason games, he may have him a roster spot because he offers something we just do not have on the roster. Terry, baller, not that big. Jahan Dotson, could be a baller, not that big. Olamide Zaccheaus, munchkin. De'Ami Brown, decent size. He's De'Ami Brown, though. Luke McCaffrey, decent size. Slot receiver. We need us a big body possession, go up and get it. Hooper. Someone can go up in Moss, Alabama. Bryson Tremaine may provide that. The most important thing that's come out of the Bryson Tremaine conversation is a lot of the chemistry and a lot of the plays you're hearing being made with that are from Jaden Daniels and not from any other quarterback. So Selby goes into his spill about his blurb about Bryson Tremaine. Serious consideration is one of the players deserving of a roster spot. He's this year's Mitchell Tinsley. He was here last year, but he's having that Mitchell Tinsley type of meteoric rise. He's routinely come up big on explosive plays downfield, and he had another pass, another one on a deep pass from Jaden Daniels. Obviously, he's the biggest and tallest receiver currently on the roster. If he does end up making the cut, he would provide us with a different skill set. Caught him a deep ball today. Zach Ertz caught him a deep ball with one hand over Jeremy Reeves today. There was not too much one-on-one action going on today, but another name. Oh, I see the name Luke McCaffrey. We need to watch him in preseason because I have not heard much of that name in preseason so far. I mean, in training camp so far. I've not heard much of Luke McCaffrey. He's a rookie third rounder. I'm not expecting him to come out and have to start right away. When we drafted him, I thought so. And it still could be the case. He can come out and light it up in preseason and end up the starting slot. But I think they're going to go with the experienced guy with Olamide Zaccheaus because clearly he was targeted by the team. But Chigozie Anuzium making plays. Kingsbury also addressed the possible concerns about the offensive line, which is still going through the process of finding a starting lineup. I love to hear that Brandon Coleman is starting at left tackle right now. And Witt praised Mike Sanders still. Just those three names, you're not going to hit on every pick in the draft. If we can just hit, cross your fingers, if we could just hit on Jaden Daniels, Brandon Coleman, and Mikey Sanders still, we are good to go for the future. Book it. We are here. That is a very successful draft, and I am here for what is to come in the near future and beyond because those are quality-ass players. Mikey Sanders still is a bona fide slot nickel corner. He already sounds like he's one of the leaders of the defense. Jaden has come in, learned the language of the offense immediately, and has already won over the locker room. Nobody has a single iffy thing to say about him. It's not a bunch of coach speak stuff. Zach Ertz was talking about him, and he was like, we always talk about the potential of young quarterbacks, the potential of rookie quarterbacks. He was like, Jaden is good now. Jaden is good right now, and he's going to be good immediately, right now. I think he was talking to JP Finley when he said that. Those are the words you want to hear about your starting quarterback. Like I continuously say, I'm going to say it every time I record a video. We've seen every shade of what it's not supposed to look like at the position of quarterback. Jaden has checked all the boxes. It's time to check the next one. When we practice and gets his first preseason action against another team, especially a team with a very good defense. Fingers crossed that our starting linemen are all practicing when it comes to these jet stuff, because I don't need Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald. I don't know if Hassan Reddick's practicing, Quinnen Williams and company. I don't need them having a party at the quarterback in the preseason game or in practice. I don't even need any skirmishes or any resemblance of contact taking place near my quarterback. I need him to be unscathed and untouched through the preseason. But 10 days in the books, Washington let a couple guys go. Washington let a guy in, and they had a pretty lax practice. I expect more of the same tomorrow as we have to take a flight up for Thursday's practice against the New York Jets in a preseason game on Saturday. I don't expect to see us have any more intense practices by ourselves for the rest of the week. That's all I got for right now. Hail to the Washington Commanders. And if you're going to do your sports betting this offseason, make sure you do it with BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, home of the fastest payouts in the industry and up to a 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits of up to $2,000. BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, where it all begins. Until next time, Commander Rio, out.